Never in my wildest dreams would I think that I would be a part of building a monument. You know, we built something special, we built something incredible. This is the largest bronze American-made statue in our country. The largest bronze statue, only second to the Statue of Liberty. When I think about the community involvement, we had 30 community meetings. We had a national call for proposals, 126 submissions, 5 finalists, and the community voted for the embrace. It was such an amazing process. You know, when we created the embrace, we wanted to create the most accessible monument in our country. There is an app that accompanies the embrace that translates the experience into Haitian Creole, Spanish, Mandarin. For folks who are visually impaired, they can experience the embrace as well. I want to give you some clickbait. Here's my internet talk, clickbait. Ooh. There are 3 things I learned while building this monument and 2 insights about monuments in general. The first thing that I learned while building this monument, that monuments are incredibly personal. I got to listen to 1,700 stories about Dr. King in this process of building this monument with the TEDxBoston team. One of my mentors, Hubie Jones, talks about hearing Dr. King for the first time and literally floating 2 inches above the air for 2 days. Another one of my mentors talked about listening to Dr. King and deciding to change their life that very instant, dedicating their life to service and faith-based ministry. I think one of the things that surprised me the most about this experience is hearing the stories of Mrs. King. Dr. King was assassinated in 1968. So many of us, I was born in 1973, many of us never heard Dr. King live. We've only watched grainy films of the I Have a Dream speech, listening to taped recordings. But several of us had an opportunity to see Mrs. King live, to see Mrs. King on television, to meet Mrs. King. And so there are plenty of stories about Mrs. King's impact, not only to the King legacy, but to the civil rights movement. So monuments are deeply personal. The second thing that I learned was that not everybody's gonna like it. Not everybody's gonna like it. When they built the Eiffel Tower, folks in Paris thought it was a monstrosity. When the Statue of Liberty was built, 2 interesting facts. One, they couldn't raise the money until Pulitzer published the names of folks who donated, and people just wanted to get their name published in a newspaper. And secondly, this is Boston's connection to the Statue of Liberty. Boston said, hey, we'll take that thing, we'll put it in Boston Harbor. That's when New Yorkers said, forget that. So this New York-Boston rivalry started. They raised the money and Statue of Liberty was put up. Well, the embrace was no different. I heard that it looked like male parts. It looked like a big headlock. It looked like all sorts of strange things. It was one of the toughest experiences after this fantastically amazing reception to experience the type of backlash after the embrace. That's another Hollywood TED Talk true story afterwards, not for today. But it was a trying time, and so not everyone's gonna like the monument. And then lastly, that monuments function like digital cookies. You know, sometimes I know some of you, because I know some of you like shoes, like me, you're online, you're at work, you're looking at shoes, you accept the cookies, and then someone walks into your office and you close your website down that you were looking at. I know it was not just me. You close the window and then you open a new window, and every single web page that you open, there is shoe ads throughout the entire day. And at the end of the day, guess what? Not only do you buy those shoes, you buy 2 shoes. Monuments function in the same way. They're like analog cookies. They are as much about the individuals being memorialized and the values of those individuals and the folks who wanted the monuments erected in the first place. They're an embodied experience. Most American monuments are built in the neoclassical style. Neoclassical is a combination of Greek revival and Roman revival. They're tall, you can't touch them. They're larger than life. They're big. They look old, so you think they've been there for a long time. As a matter of fact, most Confederate monuments in this country were built between 1910 and 1920, long after the Civil War was over. And so these analog cookies shape the way in which many people in our country see the world, shapes the values of many of the people in our country. And as a matter of fact, in states where most of the Confederate monuments are erected, those are the same states that have banned women's reproductive rights, equity theories in schools, and books. Now, if I were to ask people who were the top 50 most memorialized people in the country, many of us would probably say George Washington, of course, Abraham Lincoln. But if I were to tell you that of the 50 most memorialized people in the country, 4 of them are Confederate leaders. Number 6, the 6th most memorialized person in the country is Robert E. Lee. Number 12, Stonewall Jackson. 13 is the president of the Confederacy, Jefferson Davis. And at 44, in 2024 terms, we would refer to this person as domestic terrorist, Nathan Bedford Forrest, the founder of the Ku Klux Klan, the 44th most memorialized person in the country. If all of a sudden everyone in the United States were to disappear and space aliens were to do an anthropological study in the same way we did with ancient Egyptian and Roman societies, just on the story of American monuments, the history of our country would be a history of war, guns, military battles, the subjugation of indigenous people, and slavery. I don't know about you, but that's not the story of America that I want to be a part of. Most of these monuments are monuments of men on horses, men on guns, and men with capes. If I ever do anything famous, please don't build a monument of me on a bicycle, of my transportation. Don't put me on a horse. And so we have an incredible opportunity to think about the American monument story. So I told you the 3 things that I've learned. Let me tell you 2 insights. Number 1, we have an opportunity to create new monuments. Not monuments of hate, not monuments of war, not monuments of subjugation of people, but monuments of love. So I invite you to join Embrace Boston, your local civic organization, the group of community members trying to name the street in your neighborhood, and creating new monuments built around people who are centered around love, belonging, and equity. And then the last insight, and this is something that all of us can do, everyone probably has a handheld. Within our phones, we probably have tons and tons of photographs and pictures. Go to your local pharmacy, your online site, and get those pictures printed, and put those pictures in frames, and put those framed pictures at your desk, in your homes, hang them up. Build many monuments of love and surround yourself by those analog cookies. Thank you. This is my time.